Welcome to Game Dojo Global. My name is Omar and this is the list of games that I'm excited to play in 2019. Bear in mind that this is a very personal list. Chances are you're going to disagree with it, but hopefully my passion with regard to these games will be interesting enough for you, and maybe, just maybe, you would subscribe to my channel. Bear in mind as well that these are the games that I'm not sure if it's going to be good. Otherwise, if I know for sure that the game is going to be good, in my opinion that's not going to be exciting, at least for me. And I will make a video later on the games that I'm not including on that list, but for now, these are the games that I'm excited about, but I don't know for sure if it's going to be good. So without further ado, let's start with the game number 12, Doom Eternal. The reason this game is at the bottom of my list is because I'm pretty sure it's going to be good. But the interesting question here is, how better can it improve on the previous game? Or will it improve at all to begin with? Doom 4 was by far one of the best, if not the absolute best, first-person shooter game that I've ever played in my life. And the reason is because it was so much of a leap forward in terms of technology. Yet at the same time, it was the game to capture the magic of the original one. It was incredibly nostalgic, yet very groundbreaking, beating the modern and becoming a future classic inspired by an ancient one. The real problem here is the possibility of diminishing returns. And this means that no matter how good this game is going to be compared to Doom 4, there is no way it can introduce the same leap forward in technology. The difference between Doom 4 and Doom 3 technologically is unfathomable. A side-by-side comparison should easily make anyone recognize the difference, even if they don't know anything about the technology of video game design. Well, that's not necessarily going to make it less of a good game, but Doom Eternal has to rely on something more interesting than the mere novelty of the new technology, which means that id Software had to bring the big effing guns in game design, no pun intended. It's interesting to see how are they going to go about doing that, but from the demo that I've seen in E3 2018, I'm pretty sure the game is going to be enjoyable. I just don't know if it will reach the same level of success. Number 11 is Far Cry New Dawn. When it comes to Ubisoft, especially well-established titles like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, you pretty much know what you're gonna get out of the game in terms of gameplay and quality, which I think what makes Ubisoft games sometimes unappealing to some people, at least recently. However, this standard and quality guarantees a sense of comfort, which makes it an easy choice when you're buying one of these games, because at least you know exactly what you're gonna get. Which is why it has been a successful business model for at least 30 years in companies like EA, Activision and Ubisoft, companies that don't rely so much on innovation and risk-taking like Bethesda, well, less and less so recently since they have established their own successful line of games. But these games were the result of so much innovation that happened in the early days, one of which was the amazing leap forward in RPG technology that happened to the Fallout series in Fallout 3. Far Cry series, however, is not representing any of that technological advancement, as Fallout 3 did. Far Cry New Dawn is no different from the previous titles, however, the expectations are actually quite high this time, since Ubisoft decided to compete in the post-apocalyptic genre that has been dominated over the years by Fallout. That's what makes this specific Far Cry very interesting to me, because it brings this new type of audience to the series, and these new players have a standard, especially when it comes to the density of content and the variety of gameplay mechanics. Gamers from that genre expect the game, for example, to have more detailed side quests and non-uniform play cycles, unlike Far Cry, which is very uniform across the entirety of the game. It's interesting to see what will happen if these standards are not met on both sides. Number 10 is Days Gone. This game is the only PS4 exclusive that have a troubled development and a pretty skeptic audience. And that was a result of the fact that people are suffering from a relatively modern phenomena called zombie fatigue. For the past 15 years, on both TV and video games, there have been an explosion in the genre of zombie apocalypse. Thousands upon thousands of movies, games and TV shows about the undead bastard. And it was back in the day the safest and most successful genre to invest in. Obviously, it is still a very successful one, but it's no longer as dominant as it used to be. The reason, however, for its ongoing success is that the formula still works. It's an end-of-the-world scenario where the humanity shows its worst, also its best. It's a dire situation where the strongest will only survive, not necessarily the one with a good intention. And that has been the reason for the success of the formula over the years. And it's also why we still fondly remember games like The Last of Us, Resident Evil, and Telltale The Walking Dead. These are all games that understood what makes this genre so powerful. And that's also why Days Gone is in a tough situation, as it looks like an open-world action game in this day and age. Not only that, but also the studio making the game has no prior experience with a project of that scale. That, in my opinion, what makes this game a very interesting one to try when it comes out. Number 9 is Death Stranding. It's not that I don't know if this game is going to be good, but it's the fact that this is carrying so much package with it, and so little details. If you don't know, the director of this game is Hideo Kojima, one of the most beloved game designers in the world, and also one that had the strangest drama with a publisher in the history of the industry. Kojima's main franchise was Metal Gear Solid, published by Konami, quite a very solid series, pun intended, that have made a lot of money for the publisher. But for some unexplained reason, the Japanese publisher decided to fire Kojima's team and remove his name from the one last title that he directed, Metal Gear Solid 5. That's a very weird chapter in the history of the game industry, and I couldn't understand it. On a positive note, however, now Kojima's working for Sony, and he is making this incredibly odd project. One that is open for speculations, and quite frankly, his fans kinda like it, because that's Kojima. He's famous for his work about politics and intelligence agencies and spies and secret projects and nuclear shenanigans. It's not quality that I'm excited about, although it's going to be a good game. It's how groundbreaking this project can be, especially with all the philosophical changes in publishing that is going to come with it. Number 8 is Cyberpunk 2077. That's really kind of the most obvious one on my list, and one that I added last minute, by the way. Since CD Projekt Red is one of the best studios out there, and the success of The Witcher 3, both technologically and commercially, was well deserved. So it's safe to say that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to succeed. At this point, even if it turns out to be a bad game, you know it's still going to succeed, even though that seems weirdly far-fetched. However, it is something new. I know that we have other titles in the same genre, the most obvious one would be Deus Ex, but Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a leap forward from that. It's providing this dense open world where you can drive around and meet underground societies and interact with dangerous and controversial situations. And you know this is not above their capabilities as a studio, because we've seen them do this before with The Witcher 3, and the success of that game made them even bigger and more powerful studio. So the thing that I'm excited about here is, can they, as a powerful and relatively young studio, bring something new to the table, especially with a project that, to many of us, more than just a game, it's a science fiction look at the future. Number 7 is Wolfenstein Youngblood. It's an established franchise, beloved series, a simple formula to design for, it's an arcade FPS, and it's made by Bethesda. What could possibly go wrong? Oh wait, never mind, I take that back. Seriously though, it's not gonna be that bad. Although the formula is easy to screw up, almost as easy as it is to develop for. And the evidence is apparent in the very recent Wolfenstein 2, which had one of the worst level designs and difficulty curves. Will Bethesda fix this? Will it improve on the formula, or are we going to see a failure after a failure from now on? It's exciting because I love the series, and it seems like it can go wrong. And after Fallout 74, it seems like the standards for could go wrong now has new horrifying limits. Number 6 is The Sinking City. H.P. Lovecraft is one of the most significant horror fiction writers in the 20th century, yet unfortunately he died while his talent is not as appreciated as it is now. And sadly he died into poverty. Something that will definitely happen to me if you don't subscribe to my channel, so please don't let me die into poverty, and hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon as well while you're at it. So if you don't know Lovecraft's work, he created this ancient creature called Cthulhu, who can control minds and cause insanity amongst people. He also has this group of crazy devotees, who will do all kinds of killing and summoning for him. Cthulhu's body is of a man, with an octopus head and a dragon's wing. He controls mainly sea creatures, most famous of all of them is the Kraken. So mainly tentacle monsters, but has scary land monsters as well. The aspect that I think most intriguing about Cthulhu is that his ability to manipulate minds and drive people gradually into insanity. Also, Cthulhu is a concept, it's not a final boss, which makes him a tricky character to design around. We haven't seen that many high-quality modern games around Lovecraftian horror. Examples of that would be Darkest Dungeon, Bloodborne, and Alan Wake. The Sinking City trailer and gameplay demo is one of a high quality, but will that be translated into a high-quality product at the end? That is what I'm looking forward to see. Number 5 is Metro Exodus. Quite tough to maintain such a legacy, that of the Metro series. This game has its quite unique place among first-person shooters as well as post-apocalyptic games. It's a game about this lonely and oppressive story of one Artyom, whose world has been destroyed by nuclear bombs, forcing the entire population underground to live inside this metro, while the entire world is populated now by radioactive monstrosities. The depiction of the end of the world scenario in this game is extremely dramatic. You have this trailer of a woman that is used to be a model during the times of before the fallout, and now she has to work as this prostitute in exchange for a few bullets, which is the currency that is being used in this new world. And this is a quite powerful and emotional depiction of the end of the world. I'm very invested in the world of Metro, and I'm really looking forward to this new adventure. Number 4 is Rage 2. I played the first Rage back in 2011 from the start to end few times, and I liked it despite of its obvious problems, and I always wanted them to continue this franchise, and here we are. Rage 2 seems to me as a more realized idea than the previous game. That's exactly what I was missing in the first one. A functioning car combat system, a variety of enemies, a greater focus on the details of the world, a variety of game mechanics, weapons, abilities, and most importantly, a good story. Can they do it right this time? That's an interesting question, especially in competition with this new game at number 3, The Outer Worlds. Designed by the same studio that made this well incredibly received, Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian Entertainment is now working not only independent from but in competition with Bethesda Studios. An outright injustice has befallen the studio at the hands of Bethesda, when the developers of Obsidian were denied a well-deserved bonus when the Metacritic score of New Vegas didn't meet Bethesda's expectations with about 0.1%. The Outer Worlds is actually the most interesting project of all year, since it's going to show how much a studio can achieve if they are out of the clutch of Bethesda. That, of course, if they can do such a thing. Number 2 is Resident Evil 2. Call it a remaster or a remake, it doesn't matter. This is one of the things that I would play over and over again until the end of the world, especially if the end of the world comes with a zombie outbreak. There's no debate that this game or this series is and always will be the best when it comes to depicting zombies over the years. From story to action to atmosphere, this franchise has dominated the genre in terms of quality. The series is imprinted in my brain level by level and secret by secret. Although I'd still be happy to go back and play the original games, but every remaster of these games proves a fresh way and a new way to relive the experience, and more often than not brings new audience to the series. I know this one specifically is going to be good, I just can't wait to try and play it. Number 1 is Phoenix Point. The XCOM series, without a shadow of a doubt, has been the best strategy game that I've ever played, and the designer of Phoenix Point is the same designer of the original series of XCOM. It's a series that has depicted the alien invasion in the right way, an intelligence agency fighting an enemy of highly advanced and foreign nature to humans, and this type of strategy mechanics turned out to be the best way to depict this type of stories. Phoenix Point is a mix between the turn-based nature of XCOM and the Lovecraftian horror, which from this video you can only conclude that this game is going to be my personal best thing ever. However, this designer was not involved in the development of the newly rebooted XCOM games, which means this is not necessarily going to be as deep or as polished. And this is why I'm so excited to see what a fresh mind like this is going to bring to the table, and if it's going to exceed the expectations or disappoint the fans of the genre. Now I realize that this video has gone for too long already, and if you're still here, thank you for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to my new channel. This was my personal list of the games that I'm excited about in 2019. If you disagree with this list, feel free to tell me in the comment section below this video. Next week, we will talk about the games that everyone is excited about, but not me. Thanks for watching, and see you next week on The Game Dozer.